Welcome to the KJL Podcast Channel. I'm Kenneth J. Sr., artist, creator, and storyteller, bringing life to canvas and color to your world. Let's dive into the art experience together. Today, we'll be discussing a truly remarkable artist, Albert Wagner. His life and work are powerful examples of the transformative power of art. Wagner's story transcends the label of outsider artist because it's a journey of spiritual redemption, a reflection of the human condition, and a testament to the ways art can be a deeply personal prayer.
Recleanses of one's soul. Ain't nobody on earth responsible for your soul but yourself. That's what my work is about.
Wagner's life changed dramatically at the age of 50, when a religious awakening spurred him to become an artist and a man of faith. If you've seen the documentary, One Bad Cat, you may know some of his story, but today we'll go deeper into how his art, faith, and life became inseparably intertwined. Background and personal struggles. Albert Wagner was born in 1924 in Bassett, Arkansas, where he grew up in the harsh realities of segregation, poverty, and systemic racism. His early life in the segregated South shaped his understanding of struggle and resilience. Seeking better opportunities, Wagner moved to Cleveland, Ohio. However, at the age of 50, his life took a dramatic turn. Wagner experienced a profound religious epiphany that altered the course of his life forever.
I thought everything was gone. My life had begun to unravel. Back up an old washing machine. And I had my paint cans stored there on top of this board, which it was in the way of my guest oven and the moving can. The first can I moved, I saw paint. They tripped it off of this paint can on the board. All of these 45 years, began to come to me. God spoke to me through this board. This night, my eyes was open to see the goodness of God come into my life.
Overcome by his past wrongs and personal failings, he felt called by God to embrace a new path. This transformation led him not only to art, but to also become a reverend. His religious faith became central to his existence, and this spiritual awakening was the driving force behind his art. He poured his soul into each piece, using his work as a vehicle for redemption. His paintings reflected his internal battles, struggles with temptation, guilt, and ultimately salvation. They also connected to the broader African American experience, exploring themes of hardship, resilience, and faith. Family and children. Albert Wagner's personal life was as complex and layered as his artwork. He had multiple children by 3 different women, and this part of his life often reflected the struggles and contradictions he later expressed through his art. Wagner fathered 20 children in total, which created a complicated and at times chaotic family dynamic. His relationships with these women and the children they bore reflected his internal battles with temptation, responsibility, and moral struggle. Some of the very themes that surfaced in his artwork. Before his religious transformation, Wagner admitted to living a life filled with indulgence and sin, where he juggled these relationships and neglected many aspects of his personal responsibilities. This lifestyle contributed to his deep sense of guilt, which he would later seek to overcome through his art and faith. His large, complicated family became a significant part of his narrative of redemption. After his religious awakening at 50, Wagner sought to right the wrongs of his past and make amends with his children. His art, filled with symbolism of sin and salvation, was as much about coming to terms with his failures as it was about celebrating his spiritual rebirth. The emotional turbulence of his relationships and family life was often reflected in the raw, expressive nature of his paintings, many of which dealt with themes of repentance, forgiveness, and spiritual healing. Despite the challenges of having multiple children by different women, Wagner's story of transformation suggests that he sought reconciliation not only with his faith, but also with his family, using his art as a tool for redemption and healing. Art style, influences, and his house as a prayer. Wagner didn't just become an artist, he turned his entire life into a creative and spiritual act. His house became a living canvas for his newfound devotion. The basement of his Cleveland home was transformed into a gallery, studio, and a church, described by the creators of the documentary One Bad Cat as a prayer. Wagner's home was a sanctuary for his art and faith, and sacred space where his creative and spiritual lives converged. Every surface of the house became part of his artistic expression. Walls, doors, and found objects were all canvases for his vision. Wagner's resourcefulness as an artist is one of his defining traits. He painted on anything he could find: old furniture, discarded materials, and objects that others would overlook. This gave his work a raw, almost folk art quality, emphasizing the idea that beauty and meaning can be found in the everyday and the discarded. Wagner's style combined religious symbolism with autobiographical elements. His art was heavily influenced by his faith, and many of his works depicted spiritual themes: angels, devils, biblical figures, and moral lessons. But his work also told the story of his personal transformation, with images that reflected his internal struggle between sin and redemption. His exaggerated forms and bold use of color conveyed emotion in a visceral, immediate way. His approach was so deeply expressionistic, he used art to communicate the profound emotional and spiritual experiences he was living. The contrast between light and dark, good and evil, and the journey from despair to salvation were recurrent themes in his work. For Wagner, art was not just a form of expression, it was a way to connect with God, a prayer in visual form. Legacy, impact, and spiritual influence. Wagner's transformation from a mover to an artist and reverend was nothing short of miraculous. His work, deeply connected to his faith, resonated with people on a spiritual level. Wagner continued to paint until his death in 2006, and his art garnered attention from collectors, curators, and museums around the world. His works have been displayed at prominent venues like the American Visionary Art Museum in Baltimore and the Center for Intuitive and Outsider Art in Chicago. One of the most significant depictions of Wagner's life is the documentary One Bad Cat, which delves into both his personal and artistic journey. The film explores how Wagner used art to process his past, confront his personal demons, and express his faith. It offers a glimpse into his home, his prayer, where his art and ministry coexisted in a deeply personal and sacred space. Wagner's legacy isn't just about his art, it's about the power of the transformation. He showed that it's never too late to change your life or to use creativity as a force for good. For him, art was a medium for spiritual reflection, a way to communicate his journey of redemption. His story reminds us that art is not only about skill or recognition, but about the stories we tell and the lives we touch. Even though Wagner's art fits with the outsider category, the impact of his work transcends that label. His pieces resonate with viewers on a deeply emotional and spiritual level, making them feel connected to the struggles of the human condition. His work continues to inspire both collectors and fellow artists who are drawn to his message of redemption, faith, and resilience. Thank you for joining me today on this exploration of Albert Wagner's life and work. His story is a reminder of the transformative power of art and how faith and creativity can converge to create something truly meaningful. Wagner's life was a prayer, and his art continues to inspire those who encourage it. Before we wrap up, I'd like to remind you to like, share, and subscribe to the KJL Podcast Channel. If you found Albert Wagner's story inspiring, share it with others. We have plenty more episodes planned, diving into the lives and works of fascinating artists, so stay tuned. This is Kenneth J. Sr., your host, signing off. See you next time on the KJL Podcast Channel. Thanks for tuning in to the KJL Podcast Channel. I'm artist Kenneth J. Sr., and I truly appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. And as always, keep creating, keep dreaming, and let your imagination lead the way. Until next time, take care.